The question is simple. Do you want to back out this roster? Do you want to back out this roster? And before the break, we're talking, and we got some other sound here. And you're like, you said this 3 years ago. We were about to have Nick Friedel on. Kate Scott was on the roast back then. Shout out to Kate Scott. Kate, get your Cry Eagles Cry shirt. It's okay. We got your back out here in the 415. Don't be nervous out there, the 215.
Hey, careful. If you cut too deep, she'll bleed red and gold. Just be careful.
Is that the Draper laugh? Give me the Draper laugh. I need to hear Draper.
Dude, that guy is 100% a villain. 100% a villain.
He is unbelievable.
Batman, I'm going to leave you here under this scalding hot oil, and I'm sure you're going to die.
That dude, he called me to check on me after the Kings with the Warriors. I'm like, Drapes, I'm fine. We're all good.
Yeah.
We're all good. But 3 years ago when Kate was on his show, we had Nick Friedel on. And before we had Nick Friedel on, you're like, Draymond Green, it's like Death Row Records, man. I was like, Shasky, Death Row broke up.
Yeah.
Death Row ended. Death Row died.
Very ugly.
Very ugly. And you go, come on. The Draymond Green situation is going to end ugly. And that was 3 years ago.
I've been knowing that forever.
But I think everybody kind of knew, but we didn't know if it was going to look like this. Because
this conversation is hurting my soul.
No, it is hurting my soul, too. Because
I miss that man.
We should maybe get him on. It hurts my soul, too, because last year was the moment. You just said, what is that moment where you're like, boy, we got to move out Draymond Green? Yeah. You just said, and I felt like the moment was last training camp.
I agree.
Hell, I felt like the moment was when he sat down with Kevin Durant and said, Bob and Steve screwed up the situation. And then we put together 3-team deals, and we had people ready to drive Draymond Green to the airport. We've had those moments so many times in the last 3 years.
It's funny to me because I've tried to be – it's not funny, actually. It's kind of sad.
It is sad.
It's sad, but my point being is that I've tried to explain to you and the audience that, like, I'm a very flawed human being, and I freely admit those things. Flawed. But the thing that I find the most troubling about Draymond is he has zero shame when it comes to his own shenanigans. And to me, that is a form of delusion and a lack of self-reflection. And I will go a little deeper on like myself, okay? I have struggled with anger management my whole life. It's been a big struggle. And there was a point in my life, Bonte, where I knew no matter where I was employed, no matter who I was with, whether a friend, a relationship, whatever, a school I was at, it was going to end ugly. Because I was in such a toxic place in my life and I had so little self-reflection and so little shame that I didn't care about the ramifications of my actions and I didn't care how it ended. I didn't care. I just moved on to the next thing, right? And I get the same sense from Draymond Green. And the part that's the most troubling to me is that there are a ton of people that think, it'll be different this time. It'll be different this time. And his actions have continued to tell you it's never going to be different.
Does anybody think it's going to be different with Draymond? Because I meet people all the time at the Gatehouse, and they got the free Draymond Green shirts, and they're like, come on, Bonte, it's Draymond Green. That's our guy. That's our guy. That's our guy. And I struggled with anger management very early, and that's when I started going to therapy, and I learned, like, you know what? My grandma used to always say, the late, great Lorraine Williams Tyndall, you can't win them all, but ice it.
She's right.
I did not handle losses very well. Whether it was Monopoly, Connect Four, pickup basketball, I hated losing.
Yeah.
It bothered me to the core. So we all deal with some sort of anger management. We all deal with some sort of depression at times. We're all flawed human beings, and Draymond Green's no different. We get it. And part of the reason why we loved him was because he had that edge, and he was our enforcer, and he wouldn't allow anybody to punk Steph or punk Clay. But at some point, you do have to evolve. And I remember we had a conversation a couple years ago. I was like, Shasky, that's what makes Draymond. But then you went off the deep end and you slugged the teammate. And it hasn't been the same since. This team, this culture. When we talk about culture, what makes it culture? What makes it winning culture? Well, first of all, you got to win.
Yeah.
Right? But what makes the Niners culture right now so good? They got high-character guys who are about the team.
Yeah.
They're not about individuals. Now, they all have their little separate podcasts or whatnot, and they're doing their
thing. And Dre Greenlaw does wild stuff from time to time.
He does wild stuff. You're going to have a wild boy. I don't want all choir boys.
Yeah, I agree.
I want a roughneck on my roster.
It is pro sports. We're not acting like you're part of the church.
But the culture. Everybody said the Warriors' culture, the culture. The culture was definitely fractured last season.
It's undeniable.
And it hasn't been changed. Like, I was excited about this season. And I was like, all right, man, Draymond Green's got his 4-year deal. We got to ride with it. And then early in the season, you get what you get. You get what you get.
I mean, the crazy thing is, like, the Nurkic one was so unnecessary. I mean, it was so unnecessary. Come on.
It was, he said you were selling the foul. You were selling the foul?
At least the Gobert one, like, all right, Clay was getting into it. He gave you an excuse. Like, I could kind of maybe get talked into the Gobert thing. I mean, you dragged him 12 feet.
I can't get talked into
No, but I'm saying, like, I
can't get talked into that.
I know, it's nonsensical, but I'll meet you a little bit. The Nurkic one was just, come on, man.
I can't even meet you in the middle on Gobert.
You can't?
I can't, because I was like, oh, he saw an opportunity. He took it. And it was funny. I was on the.
I mean, they're tantrums. These are I would classify these as tantrums.
It was so random that day. About 1:30 in the morning or 1:30 in the afternoon of that game. I was on the phone, and just flippantly, I was just like, watch Draymond Green tonight. No Steph. Draymond, I swear to God. I swear to God. Oh my. I swear to God.
That's sad
that
that
day,
you have to say that.
Yeah, and I was like, watch Draymond Green tonight. There's some times when Steph is not playing. He's on that edge. And he goes over that edge. What happened in the first 2 minutes of the game? And you had him for 9 seconds. And then when you come back, this is the worst part. Nobody even talks about this one. The Nurkic thing is a Nurkic thing, and he's popped now, and we haven't seen him since December 12th. But when he did come back from the 5-game suspension, Sacramento game, he made it one half.
That's right.
And in the third quarter,
that's right.
He's chirping at Gucci Man, James Williams, and I think it's Curtis Blair, the other guy from Chicago. It's sad that I know these referees. And he's chirping at both of them. And Kenny Kerr, I had a conversation with Kenny that night. And Kenny goes, dude, I'm sitting there courtside, and he's ripping these referees for 2 minutes straight. Just nonstop verbalizing, just undressing these dudes. Finally gets teed up, and he's mad about a carrying call. And then he gets teed up, and he fouls Malik Monk in half court. And Kerr has to take him out the game. And Kenny's telling me, Kenny Caraway, ESPN 1320, he's like, yo, Steve Kerr was talking to him. 3 possessions went by. They go up and down, up and down, up and down. And he's still talking to Draymond, trying to calm him down. That was his first game back from the 5-game suspension.
What was the Cleveland game when they played at home against Cleveland?
Oh, yeah, that was they played Cleveland twice. That was 2 games before the Rudy Gobert incident.
Okay. I was at that game, and I had the best seats I've ever had, the Odyssey. Thank you, Odyssey. And Bonte, it was the same thing. He was cruising for a bruising to get thrown out of that game and wanted to just jar it up with everyone. And you could watch, when you're that close, I'm never that close. When you're that close, it's like, damn, Draymond, pipe down. Play back. And here's the thing. Just play basketball.
Just play basketball.
I don't know. I get it. The extra stuff. I know. It's what makes him. But he had gone above and beyond. It was too much.
And not only that, the way he exited that game. The same way he did Sacramento and Memphis. He's like getting the crowd all hyped up. Why are we getting hyped up? They're getting kicked out. We need to against Cleveland.
I know. And they're kicking your butt.
Like, what are you doing?
Well, he was yelling at Tristan Thompson. Tristan Thompson wasn't even in the game.
Right.
He's screaming and yelling at him.
I just don't. So I don't know if he's going to change. And so that moment, you say that moment, the culture's fractured right now because of this guy. It is. Our culture's up in the air. Like, and then I think about the young guys. How are they supposed to follow him? How are they supposed to follow him as a leader? And he's doing what he's doing.
I mean, how can you?
Seriously, and I love Day-Day. I do. I'm pulling for the guy, but damn, it's hard. Like when people say, you got to have compassion for Draymond Green. You got to have compassion for him. And then he comes back and says, well, I've been the same guy I've been for 12 years. I'm not changing.
You remember Paulie in Goodfellas?
Oh, yeah.
Here, like at some point, after I've told you 10 times, here's a little bit amount of money that I have, and now I have to turn my back on you. And that's the way I feel with it when it comes to Draymond Green. Now, I've been exhausted. I know Bob Myers alluded to his exhaustion and the team's exhaustion and how much that can weigh on someone. But, Bonte, at the end of the day, this thing that they can't win without him, I watched the Warriors let Kevin Durant go, and they won a championship.
Yeah.
Okay? I watched Kobe separate from Shaq and win a championship. I watched the Miami Heat lose LeBron James, and they've gone to 2 finals in the last 10 years.
Beat up on the Lakers last night.
So to say that the Warriors can't win without Draymond Green, well, you're not paying attention to sports. Tyreek Hill got traded from the Chiefs, and they went on and won it all. immediately.
And won a championship.
So I love Dre. Dre's a very good player. You could still win without Draymond Green.
Now, at what level can you win at?
That's a different question. But to say that they can only exclusively win with Draymond Green, to me, it insults my sports intelligence.
Because the same thing we're talking about the Giants is like, we want to see the youngsters, we want to see the youngsters, we want to see the youngsters, but it's a little different. Draymond Green's such a polarizing figure, and we know he's a trusted agent. We know he's a champion. And you know what? He got benched in Game 4 in the fourth quarter, but he bounced back in Game 5 and Game 6 in a major way. In a major way. You don't win Game 6 without Draymond Green.
No.
He had a huge shot late in that game that would seal that championship. But when is enough enough? Here's what Steve Kerr, when he was asked by Willard or Dibbs, on if their relationship with Draymond Green has been fractured. Well,
we have so much history. Draymond and I, this is 10 years for us since we've been together. And as far as the organization, with, Joe, Lake and Draymond have been together 12 years now. We've been through so much together, ups and downs, and we love Draymond, and it's a great relationship. Obviously, what's happened over the last year, it has been disappointing, and we are really counting on Draymond, to make some strides with this stuff, and we're confident that he will be able to, and that he'll be able to come back and play at a high level.
Can I have one little umbrage with what Steve Kerr said there? And I don't know. I admit I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, so I don't know how they've held him accountable internally. But publicly, I've always felt that the Warriors have turned a blind eye to Draymond Green, and their actions have spoken to me, that they've enabled him. I kind of feel like, you're asking somebody to change who you've, fed all these Popeye steroid spinach powder to, and is worked him up into a frenzy, and you've never kept him in check. There's got to be boundaries, and you've never established proper boundaries, and so now you're mad because he's painting outside the boundaries.
It's
so I kind of feel do you get what I'm doing?
Yeah, no, I absolutely, and
I understand their frustration.
I think about when we had Lake of It Studio. We had Lake of It Studio here, and by the way, somebody left their Apple Watch in here.
Oh, that's me. I'm
that's
charging.
You? Oh, you're charging up. All right. Joe Lake, when he was in his studio, and he mentioned, I asked him, was there at any point where you guys thought you were going to leave Draymond Green in the offseason? He goes, well, yeah, sure. But, we came down to my house and we had dinner and we talked it out. And it's like, damn, he basically did a deal with the owner. That's what I thought right away. I was like, damn, what was really going on? Where did Mike Dunleavy feel like I don't know how Dunleavy feels about it. Maybe he wants Draymond Green. And the thing that Steve Kerr said, Steiny actually hit on this yesterday, is that when Kerr came out and said, look, man, we need Draymond Green back after the Lakers game, after they lost Game 6. And remember how that looked. Kuminga's going off. He's talking to the media. Jordan Poole's not. He's basically gone.
It was dire.
It was done. And immediately they go, well, we want Draymond Green back. We're not a championship team without him. So all of a sudden you put the pressure on yourself to bring him back. And you're basically telling everybody, we can't win without Draymond Green. Well, I would like to see, maybe not say that, and let's see what happens. Maybe you do move on from Draymond, but right then and there, you lost your leverage. If you get what I'm saying, you lost your leverage with Draymond Green by coming out basically saying, we can't win the championship without him. All of a sudden, Draymond Green's like, you know what? I got my money now. I'm getting my 100.
Well, at what point in his entire, Warrior life has he ever really been, disciplined by the team?
Once.
I mean,
Kevin Durant.
All the things
Kevin Durant when he got suspended for one game.
And that's where it's interesting here. They asked Kerr directly, and I know we have the cut in here, what's the timetable? And he's alluding to the league, and I want to get into it. Can we play that?
Oh, yeah, the same. Get that up in a second.
Yeah, the one where they asked him about the timetable, and he's alluding to how the league is the one taking over. And I find this interesting, and I want to respond to it after we play it.
Mike Dunleavy is kind of handling that, and they're going through their process and protocol with Draymond and with Mike, so they're dealing with that. I'm coaching the team, so it's nothing to report at this point.
It feels like to me, again, my sense is that the Warriors are kind of liking that the league, and I would too, is kind of taking control of this because I think it's gone too out of control.
Well, I think the league had to step in.
They had exactly
because I'm sure the league watched the way they handled the Jordan Poole situation.
Yeah, I didn't think of that, correlating those two. I should have.
How did they handle that situation? We all agree that, and I can't. It's hard for me to look a pro sports franchise policing things in a way that we do in the real world. I don't expect that. I don't expect that at all.
It's not.
But it's a bad look.
100%.
It's a bad look when a guy gets punched and nothing happens, basically. Like he steps away for practice or whatnot. Draymond Green knows the system. Does he, You
have to be cognizant of your other employees, a.k.a. the other players on the roster, and the ramifications of that.
And they see that.
Absolutely.
And that season last year was divided right away. It was two teams. It was the vets and it was the youngsters. And we were out here defending the youngsters, saying, play the youngsters. It's not fair to them. The veterans are blowing the games in the fourth quarter. And now here we are a year later, and everybody's saying, hey, play the youngsters, play the youngsters, play the youngsters. Should have been playing them last year anyway.